Hello and welcome to my channel. My name is Tom Cunningham. I'm a principal UX designer working in the industry for over 15 years in a mixture of companies from enterprise software to startups to UX consultancies. I've seen a lot and I've done a lot, and I'm setting up this channel because I want to share some of that knowledge to make it more widely available for more people in the industry. In the companies that I work for, including the one that I currently work for, I usually mentor, two or three or four people at a time, as much as I can handle without the workload being too much. And while I think that's really valuable for the mentees that I work for, I always have this niggle in the back of my mind that I could be sharing this knowledge more broadly with other people too. Because what can happen is you'll have a mentor session with somebody, they'll come to you with a problem or a number of problems that they're facing in the work that they're doing, and then you give them, I usually listen, of course, listen in pretty carefully, try to understand the landscape that they're working in, and then, I'll give them some advice if that's what they want. And what I find happens is that I kind of say similar things to different people, tailored to their specific needs or the challenges that they're working through. But I find that I'm often talking about the same things again and again. And a few things are happening in the industry, the advent of AI being everywhere, and how much of an effect that's going to have on the careers of IT professionals, designers, engineers, PMs, you name it. It's going to have a lot of effect on it. Some good, some bad. Some remains to be seen. I just think I would like to share some of my thoughts on a channel like this for a couple of reasons. One, make it useful for you, the viewer, to hopefully get something interesting from here. Maybe there's a piece of information or a piece of advice that you haven't thought of before, and it might speak to you. A quote that I love from James Joyce: "In the particular is the universal." And what I mean by that is when you solve or explain a particular or a specific challenge that you have, I find that there's often universal lessons to be learned there. So in talking to someone who's going through a particular challenge in their career at the time, sometimes walking through a case study of a similar product that you were working on or a similar problem space that you were working on, you can spell out this, you can paint the environment, you can paint all the challenges, you can go into the specifics of explaining what you did and when, and these patterns start to emerge that are generally more broadly useful than just that particular case study that you're talking about. So I love that term, and I like to use that where possible to explain to people that I'm mentoring or that I'm working with. If I take you through the process the particular challenge, all the landscape of it, all of the outside pressures that we had, maybe that's stakeholder management, that's dealing with cross-functional partners, all of that type of stuff, I feel like things come alive more in a very practical way instead of it being academic style advice that someone is giving or theoretical advice that someone is imparting on somebody else. So I always try and paint the picture, use analogies, use previous experience that I've done or previous challenges that I've faced or anecdotes. I find that usually helps with the mentee that I'm working with. So on this channel, I'm going to be talking about my experience in the industry over the last 15 plus years. I'll give you a little bit of a background of what that looked like now. But I'm really excited to see where we go in the future. I would consider myself to be a proactive, learning hungry generalist. So over the years, I've continued to acquire new skills and expand new ways of thinking when it comes to the craft of design, the systems thinking that is required to be a modern designer, and also thinking at different zoom levels, not just right in the weeds, but also zooming out to 1,000, 10,000, 100,000 feet and seeing how the systems all fit together. So here's a bit more about my background. I studied visual communications design in IADT Dublin. Shout out to anyone from IADT, really great college. What I found in that course was it was an evolution of what you would call graphic design in the past. So you'd learn the foundational principles of typography, all the graphic design stuff, imagery, image making, all that type of stuff. But also the lecturers that we had at the time were quite clued in, and they were making sure to get us up to speed on motion graphics and web-based design as well. There were separate courses for more technical side of things, but I think the tutors that we had at the time really saw ahead and made the course that we did, the visual communications design course, they really focused on making that relevant. So what I thought at the time was I'd be interested in graphic design. I wasn't even aware of this as a discipline, but while in college actually doing the work, I found that I was drawn more and more to the digital side of things. Motion graphics, web-based things. It kind of blew my mind when I realized that I could make an update, publish something, hit refresh in a browser, and see the update being made. Or in motion graphics, if I was making a new video or whatever it might be, I could just render it out and there'd be a new version of it there. That kind of blew my mind, because a lot of the graphic design traditional stuff is print-based things and identity-based things and visual language side of things as well. So it's an awful lot of print, and once you kind of commit to the design that you have, it's tactile, which is great. You get to hold it in your hand, but also it's immutable. You can't really change it after then unless you want to make a whole new version of it to replace it with. So that really drew me towards the whole digital side of things. And when I completed my honours degree in visual communications, I started in 2010 in a UX design agency, or a UX consultancy at the time. Now, UX at the time was not a very common term. This is one of the main points I wanted to touch on in this video, is that right now we have a lot of in-house product designers working in companies. UX is a common term, product design is a common term, UI design, these are all common terms. But at the time, there wasn't really any UX designers at the time. I remember working in that UX consultancy, and a lot of the work that we did was we would deal with clients that might be multinational clients or the government clients, usually pretty big blue chip companies. And very few of them had any real in-house designers. You might have web designers looking at the website side of things, or you might have graphic designers doing marketing related things and banners and things like that, but they didn't really have user experience design in-house. A lot of our time we would be dealing with what we would call business analysts at the time. There was a lot of conversations like, what is user experience and why should they care about it and why should they invest in it? Now, if you look past the last decade or so, a lot of companies' mindsets have changed. They now understand the value of design, and it's a competitive disadvantage if they don't invest in it properly. But that wasn't always the case. So a lot of things have changed in the last 15 years or so, and a lot of things are going to continue to change. So I want to use this channel to explain some of my experience. And as I said, I like to keep up to date. So I'm going to be talking about how I use AI to think about things differently, how I design with data, how I use non-traditional tools when it comes to thinking in systems, not your usual Figmas, not your usual sketches, but thinking data modeling with Airtable and Notion, and also information architecture, the fundamental building blocks of what makes digital design work. So I'll be talking about that kind of content on this channel. If this is something you're interested in, please subscribe, share it with anyone that you think might be interested in. I'll be sharing these videos regularly, and I'll be digging into specific case studies or particular challenges that I've faced over the years and how I might go about solving them or thinking about them. And I also want to talk about, as I said, there's a lot of change on the horizon. It can be pretty intimidating and even a little bit scary. So I'd like to give my take on what it means to be future prepared as a designer in the coming years as we go through all this change in the industry. So if that sounds like something that's useful to you, hit subscribe, like the video, and share it with any of your colleagues who might find it useful too. See you in the next video.